Hello, welcome to my webinar on providing powerful tips for small businesses, 12 ways to get local sales. My name is Geraldine Fusciardi and I work with small businesses and startups to help them become successful. I help them get started, I help them create powerful but simple business plans and develop sales strategies for their businesses. And I work with them to adopt the habits and goals that they need to be successful, keeping it simple but focused on sales. And I've worked with a wide variety of companies. I've worked with software and service companies, plumbers, painters, consultants, car dealers, therapists, tour guides, accountants, animal groomers. I've worked with them all. So let me tell you a wee bit about myself. I have over 25 years of international sales and marketing experience, working in the UK, US, Australia, Northern Europe and Ireland, and I've been running my own business for more than 13 years. And I understand the challenges involved in setting up a business and generating closing those deals. My first ever deal was for £50,000. It felt terrific. The biggest one I ever did was for €10.5 million, and that was pretty fantastic too, but you do always remember your first one. And over the course of my career, I've directly sold over about £30 million worth of goods and services. And I've been involved in setting up companies in the UK, Ireland, the US, and I understand many of those challenges. And over the last 5 years, I've worked with hundreds of small businesses in a wide variety of industry sectors to help them build their businesses. Now, you don't need a formal education to be an entrepreneur, but you do need some skills in the area you want to work in, and you need some vision for how it's going to proceed, and some passion, some fire in your belly for what you're doing. And you pretty much need to be persistent. So I run a number of different courses to help small companies then. I run a boot camp for entrepreneurs, a 4-week boot camp to get them going, giving them advice and methodology to follow, motivational push. I run a very popular 10-day Build Your Business Plan program, and I also operate that in an online version. I do a lot of coaching with entrepreneurs, and if you get a chance, check out my website. I offer loads of different products and blogs and tips, etc. for entrepreneurs to use. So let's get on to what we're here to talk about today, which is 12 ways to get local sales. Now, the first that I'm going to talk about are friends and family. And this is really, really important, particularly when you're starting up, say, your business, but get that vital first feedback on your product or service. So in some ways, your friends and family, they're going to be your easiest sale because they know you, they trust you, they should trust you. And however, they can also sometimes be your harshest critics. They can be tough on you, but you want that. You want to get that feedback. Much better to get it from friends and family than to get it from strangers. And hopefully they'll be your most avid supporters. But you do need to give them some mates rates, but more importantly, you need to get them working for you to give you public feedback. Now that might be talking to other people about you, might be talking to their friends, might be talking to their business acquaintances, but equally you want to get them to go online and to give you some good testimonials online, whether it's information for your website or it's your Facebook page or your Twitter account. So you've got to get out there and encourage them to do that. So obviously every small business needs to work with one of the ways is friends and family. Now, the second one, which is really, really important, are customer referrals. You always want to ask your customers for referrals. You should do it immediately after you provide some good work for them, or you should do it as part of a regular referral campaign. For once or twice a year, you do a campaign and offer incentives for them to give you some feedback or to give you some referrals to others. Now, it's very much, don't ask if you won't get. So you've got to get out there and ask for this. And it's probably the most important technique for getting new business, for any size of business, but you need to give it a lot of thought, a bit of work and incentives to do it properly. Often it doesn't happen naturally. So do offer some rewards. Perhaps you give them a discount on the next piece of work or the next product that they buy from you. Maybe you give them a free gift that's related to your business. Perhaps you offer them some sort of cash reward like an Amazon voucher. But definitely you need to make it really, really easy for them to refer you to friends and families. So do give them business cards. Do enable them to connect easily on social media. Maybe you have click buttons for refer a friend on your emails or on your website. But just think through how you can make this very easy for people to do. The next and very important technique for local businesses is networking, and I recommend this to every small business that I work with. Now, I know it can be challenging, not everybody's a good networker, but you've got to get yourself out there. This is probably second or third most important technique for getting business. Now, networking, first and foremost, it's not about direct selling. Network is about building long-term relationships. So you don't go in immediately and try and close the deal. You want to go in and establish that you're somebody that people can like and people can trust. So think of it as a long-term strategy for you to pursue. Now, there are different types of networking that you need to become familiar with. The first type of networking I want to talk about is formal networking. Now, this is typically organised, say, through chambers of commerce or trade associations, local enterprise events, Intertrade Ireland, Enterprise Ireland. All of these organisations do these types of events. Now, they can be quite formally structured. Sometimes you might be given, speed dating setups, 2 minutes in front of loads of different people. So you have to be prepared for that, and you have to be able to do that properly. So you need to think through what your elevator pitch is going to be, and you need to also listen to people, because you don't close the deal in that 2 minutes either. You follow up afterwards. The plus side of going to these formal events is that everybody is there to network. So they're there to hear your pitch and respond to you. The next type of networking is informal networking. So this is going to perhaps community events or sports events, and it's also networking with your competitors, your suppliers, related businesses. So there are lots of opportunities to go to these sorts of organisations, or to go to those types of events, and you should take advantage of those. Make sure you've got your business cards, and make sure you're there to listen as well as to talk. Now, the third and very vital part of networking today is obviously the online networking. If you're selling to other businesses, LinkedIn is the place to be. And you need to make sure you've got a good profile. You want to get an all-star status on LinkedIn. If you don't know what that is and you're selling to businesses, get onto LinkedIn now and check it out. And if you're selling then to consumers, this is where you need to be on social media. You need to be on Facebook, you need to be on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, lots of different tools that can be used out there. You don't need to be on them all, but you will have to select where your customers are going to be so that you can be there to communicate with them. So you should be thinking of networking as all three of these areas. Now let me give you a few networking tips. I'm going to rapidly run through the tips that I give. I run courses on these for people as well. So the first tip I give is to find the right event. Doesn't matter how good your product or service is, if you're networking at the wrong events, you're just wasting your time. So check out professional associations, chambers of commerce, but sometimes, and check out the attendee lists, but sometimes you just have to go to the event to work out if it's right for you. So in which case, go a couple of times. If you're not meeting the right people or not making contacts, then stop it and find some other events that will work for you. The next thing then is to plan. What are your objectives when you go to an event? Check out the attendee list in advance, find out who you want to meet up with, and make sure then you look the part when you go, and take plenty of business cards before you arrive. Now, you also need to practice what's called your elevator pitch. This is the 2 minutes where you can summarise what is the real value that you offer people and what are the problems that you solve for customers. So this is something in a short spiel that you can do in any type of event or any type of short occasions, but the best ones sound as if they haven't been practiced, but really have been practiced to death. So make sure you know your elevator pitch. I always suggest arrive early. That gives you an opportunity to suss out the venue, perhaps get a wee bit of food before the talking starts, but also most importantly to start building a relationship with the event organiser, who can be a great person to actually introduce you to the people that you want to meet. So try and arrive early for these events. Don't be the last one through the door. The next one is to take a genuine interest in other people. As I said earlier, networking is a long-term strategy. It's about building relationships, building trust. So listen to what other people have to say and find out a wee bit about their families, their sports interests, etc., as well as their business challenges. Networking, I said, is about building new contacts. So the rookie mistake with networking is you walk into the room, you spot some people that you know, you rush over to them and you stay with them for the rest of the event. That's not networking. That's actually just hanging out with some mates. You've got to get away to talk to new people. So by all means, start with the ones that you know, but rapidly move on. Otherwise, you can't really call it a networking event. And the next thing is, don't try and oversell at these events. Networking is about building relationships, so don't come off overly salesy. If you do happen to get into a conversation with somebody who you think there could be a short-term sales opportunity, make an appointment to talk to them afterwards or meet with them afterwards. Don't try and close them perhaps then and there unless it's absolutely vital, but I've never come across that situation yet. Read the body language carefully. You can tell a lot about when people have had enough talking to you or when the group's ready to move on, and when other groups of people are open to people joining them. So take a look at the body language around you and try and be knowledgeable about that. Know when to move on, okay? You've captured all the information you can, you've talked a wee bit about yourself. At the end you exchange some business cards, but you have to move on. That's what networking is all about, getting around other people. Now, I always suggest a little trick of taking a couple of notes. Now, what I mean by that is when you gather a business card, put a couple of keywords down about the person you've just been talking to, whose card it is. Whether it's they're big supporters of Manchester United, or they really follow the rugby very closely, or they've just come back from holidays in Greece. Something that will give you a hook for the next time you're going to talk to them. And of course, if you've got a really juicy business challenge, note that down too, so you know what you're going to say the next time you phone them or you follow up with an email. Take the opportunity, if possible, to present at these events. That will increase your profile, start to position you as an expert. This is another good reason to arrive early and get to know the organiser. And then if you're going to be doing this, make sure that you follow up. Now, following up, you have a 24 or 48 hour window to follow up with people at networking events. Don't miss that. Now, follow up might just be a short email or a quick phone call, or even if it's just saying you're going to have a longer chat the following week, do your follow up within 48 hours. And finally, if networking, as it probably should be, one of your major ways of getting local sales or new sales, you have to set yourself a target. This only works if you say how many of these events you're going to go to a month and you stick to it. Okay, enough about networking. Let's move on to the next way I want to talk about, which is direct mail. Now, direct mail is making a wee bit of a comeback now. It used to be this was awful and people didn't really read them or look at them. But nowadays, most things are sent to us by email, which we delete far too easily. Whereas when stuff comes through the post, I actually look at it now, as do a lot of people, because we don't get as much as we used to. So I would take a look at direct mail for your business. This may be a good option for you. Now, it is expensive, but there are definitely higher read rates with it. You can do it through local mail services or local free newspapers, and it's not going to cost perhaps as much as you think. You can get some good direct mails done to, say, 1,000 people for a few £100s. So it's not as expensive as you might think it is. Now, the most important thing is who's the mail going to. If you're building up your own list of customers or prospects, that's brilliant, because you can start to personalise it and you can direct the right information to the right people on the list. And this is something you should do all the time. Gather information about customers and prospects. Names, addresses, whatever you can, do them. The next thing then is the offer. When you send out a direct mail, what action are you looking people to take? What incentive are you providing them to take that offer? Are you looking to get them into your store? Are you looking to get them to your website? Are you looking them to buy something that's on particular offer? Make sure it's very clear what the offer and the incentive is that you want to do. Now, when it comes to the content, you want to avoid being too hyped up on this content. You want to avoid, sort of a lot of bold with italics, all caps, multiple exclamation marks. These things are very cliched, and you don't want to use that then in your material. So don't do that, please. You want to use, if possible, creative, funny, or visual, sort of good visuals. So you don't want to be boring. Be very clear on the action that you want them to take. Use colour wisely. Different types of colours mean different things. So make sure that you have got good colour and it stands out, but not too much, because then that gets expensive with direct mail. And where possible, you really want to personalise. If you've got those names, please use them. And the final thing for direct mail is it must be part of a campaign. You shouldn't be doing it where it's just a one-off. You're not going to get the great response that you want if you do it that way. You need to have it as part of a larger campaign. Now let's take a look at a few good examples of direct mail here. The two on the left hand side there are for accountants. You know, you're getting buried under paperwork, or it's about, you know, paying less tax, and so they're quite good. They're good visually, they look well, so that's using good visuals for your contacts. Another one there for a Montessori school or a nursery school, and they've got a very clear offer of 1 week free tuition. They talk about little scholars. Then there's a security company where people can manage their security of their homes from a distance, and you can see it there through the phone. One of my favourites in the bottom right hand side there is actually from a local laundry company that went out in Italy, and they sent this out with a little fake tomato in the middle of it when you unfolded it, and you could splat the tomato, and they made a point about how difficult it was to get those stains out, and it had a fantastic response rate. They'd really helped them almost double their business, this laundry. And the once upon a time is just trying to get across the fact that if you can tell a little story, that's always better. Stories sell. So the more you can put a little story into your campaigns or into your direct mail, the more likely they are to be successful. So let's move on and talk a wee bit about local press. Now, local press are keen for stories. Every week they have blank pages to fill. They want stories to fill them, but they must be interesting. Now, with local newspapers, a lot of them is that they are going down in terms of the numbers that they're selling, but they're still a good source for particular demographics. So if you're interested in parents, if you're interested in older people, if you're interested in local business people, if you're interested in community-minded people, these are all very strong demographics that still buy local newspapers. So, if you're interested in those, let me give you a few tips for writing a press release for a local paper. First and most importantly is getting the right angle. It has to be interesting. So maybe it's multiple years of a hobby that you've turned into a business. Maybe it's a launch event or a special event that you're running, a special sales event. Perhaps it's providing a new product or a new service. It's an award that you've won, or it's your first 100 customers, your first 1,000 customers, your 10 years in business. You've got to give them an angle. Okay. The second thing then is the content. Now the content should be short. No more than a single A4 page is fine, and always date it. Write in the third person, avoid jargon and hyping things up too much. If you talk about being the best Montessori school in the whole of Ireland, you better have an award to prove it. And include a sharp, punchy headline. Editors of local newspapers are like everybody else. They have very little time. So they're pushed for time, and they make instant decisions as to whether or not they're going to continue reading something. And the first place that they start making those decisions is on the headline that you use. So make sure you have a really good, punchy headline that you use for this. The same applies then to the first paragraph of information in your press release. You must make sure that that contains a lot of the really key, interesting points you want to make. Because once again, these editors will read these first paragraphs and they'll make another decision as to whether or not they'll be bothered to go on. You should have a boilerplate of information about your business at the bottom, including your contact details, website address, etc. And if possible, it's always good to include a photograph or quotes from customers. You're much more likely to make it into the paper if you've got those. The final thing then is that you should always submit it directly to a specific editor or journalist. Don't just send it to info@localtimes.com. That's highly likely it'll get missed. Make sure you send it to the specific editor, and it's very easy to find those details out. Go to their local web address. I'm sure they've got all that information there for you. Okay, that's local press. Let's talk a wee bit about Facebook and Google advertising. Now, Facebook and Google advertising, it doesn't have to be that expensive, and the beauty of it is that it can be very highly targeted. You specify the demographics, the local geographic area, the interests, the locations, and you set keywords then, so people that are perhaps looking for certain types of things. You set all of those, so it can be very targeted, your advertising. And given that you only pay for Facebook and Google adverts if somebody clicks on them, then that means that if you write the right advert and you target it well, it will only be clicked on by people that are actually interested in your service. So that makes it really easy to track then for effectiveness. Now, with the likes of Google, you've got a couple of options for Google Express, and that they'll even suggest the keywords for you to make it easy. But of course, behind this, as with the direct mail I was talking about earlier, you need to have a great offer. And with that great offer, which could be free advice, it might be a half-price session, it could be a downloadable tax advice booklet, it could be an update on Brexit for local businesses, it could be a special event that they can come to. It's whatever the offer is, you want to get people then to register with you to receive that offer, which then allows you to follow up with additional marketing and advertising. So create a great offer. Then you should perhaps do your initial targeting through Facebook, because Facebook targeting is really, really tight. It's very good. And then you can do the retargeting through Google. Now, by retargeting, I mean, you know, when you're on the internet and you've perhaps taken interest in a holiday in Sicily, and then the next time you're seeing all these adverts for holidays in Sicily, that's retargeting. Somebody has noted that you have gone on, taken a look at that, and they're now retargeting, and it's very, very effective. Might be a wee bit irritating at times, but from a business perspective, it's very effective. So make sure you do that. With Facebook and with Google, you'll often get free offers at the start. I think there's currently offers for £75 worth of free advertising out of the first £150 that you spend. And it's very easy to set budgets with these. You set a daily budget. I don't want to spend more than £3 a day on this advertising. And then after that number of people have clicked and your budget's been used, they won't show it anymore. So it's very easy to keep track of budgets, and you can cancel them at any time. But once again, with this advertising, it needs to be part of a campaign. You can't just do it on its own. It has to be part of a bigger campaign that you think about. Now let's look at a few examples of Google adverts then. The one that I would use quite a lot is about a free business plan that I give people, a template. I want them to click on my Performance page to do that, and I have a couple of lines of text that describe the benefits that they can get about planning fast, executing fast, starting now. Here's an example for accountants in Cork, where they talk about providing peace of mind, and they also give you a phone number because they want you to ring them, and they give you direct access to a number of different pages on their website, depending on what information you want, as well as giving you an address. Another one here for property maintenance. They likewise give you a phone number and a couple of lines of text that also explain that they operate on a nationwide basis, which is useful to know. And then there's a performance management software here for schools. They give you the web address where they want you to go to, but they also give you a phone number, and there's a couple of lines of text that give you an idea of what they're about. So they're more likely to get the right people to click on the ad the more you know about it before you click. So very simple and easy to set up. You can get going within minutes within these. So should be something that you're doing as part of a bigger campaign. Next thing I want to talk about are local partners. Now, entrepreneurship is lonely. It is a lonely business, particularly if you're a small company starting up. So don't try and work alone. You want to really start thinking as a team, and who else can I work with? So one of the things from a local business perspective that is really good to do is to look at getting complementary partners, local partners. So for example, accountants and lawyers getting together to work as a team, architects, quantity surveyors, electricians, plumbers, florists, funeral directors. There's loads of different partnerships you can think about here. So you want to consider, who else can I work with here that can actually help me build my business? And when you get the right partner, then it's about marketing locally as a team. So this is where you can give each other cross referrals. You could perhaps run joint events. You could share advertising costs. You can have joint offers. So there's lots of different things you can do together to help each other out. Now obviously you're picking your partner based on who your target market is and how well it matches their target market. So you can both take advantage of that. So you want to pick your partner carefully. The ones that have the same target market as you, the ones with a good reputation, perhaps a matching work ethos, and the ones that are prepared to put some effort into this, because all partnerships need nurturing, but you shouldn't be doing all the work. A true partnership involves work from both parties. So it's really worthwhile finding those partners on a local basis that you can help each other. But remember, you have to be able to help them as much as they help you. This is not a one-way street. So, local partnership. Let's move on then to everybody's favourite. This is the one about sponsoring local sports and running events. Now, local businesses are really good at this. They're at the heart of the local community. So, Pick something that you're passionate about, you know, whatever sport or whatever local activity that you're really into, because you may end up going to an awful lot of their events. So it's best that you're interested in it. They usually welcome advertisers with open arms. They're always looking sponsorship. They're always looking people to provide raffle prizes, people to advertise if they have the premises around the premises or the sports pitch. And so it's very welcome. And they should have lots of different ways that you can engage with them. And it really helps build goodwill. So you'll get goodwill among the players themselves, whether it's young people or adults. You'll get goodwill among parents. You'll get goodwill among coaches, organisers and fans. So definitely something you should think about for advertising, sponsorship, raffle prizes, event hosting, or participating in their annual calendars, that type of thing. Okay, the next favourite for everybody then, particularly for your customers, is getting freebies. Okay, and done right, this can be a great low-cost way to generate goodwill because it creates a positive brand association when it's done right. And it also puts a wee bit of an obligation on recipients, because if you give them something, they feel as though they want to buy something from you. So it can start to get the transactions moving and encourage additional purchases. So it's a good way to build that goodwill. It also encourages people sometimes to try your product or service risk-free. If you're offering them a wee bit of a freebie, perhaps it's the first consultation that they do with you. And, you know, perhaps it's a wee free gift for even coming and talking to you about their needs, etc. And to do that, then you're also going to get talked about a lot more. All the research shows that free gifts create much more of a buzz. You'll talk more about it. You know, I got some free gifts recently from our local pharmacist, and they were given some stuff about creams, etc. And I must have spoken to my sisters about that, my best friend about that. It created an awful lot of goodwill. Some of them I know even went in themselves to see some of the products that we were talking about. So it's really good. You'll get much more of a buzz if you do that. Often as well, giving a free gift can be seen as superior to a discount. Research has shown that, for example, you're a coffee shop, and if you're trying to give something free and something generous to your customers, you could say offer them additional, you know, a size up, you know, a bigger cup of coffee, or you could offer them a discount on the coffee that they're buying. And research has shown that people prefer more coffee. You know, they prefer that. So it's seen as a better, and the other way you'd have lost some money on your revenues, whereas this way you're just putting a wee bit of extra coffee in at probably minimal extra price. So it's a good way then to generate this goodwill, and it can be seen as superior to a discount. And another thing as well is things like kids eat free. You know that, you see this in loads of restaurants, kids eat free. Great example about that is because kids rarely go in and eat by themselves. They usually have a couple of adults in tow. So the adults are in and they're getting some good money from the adults, and also you end up perhaps buying drinks or desserts, etc. for the kids. You know, so it's a great way of getting people in through the door. Another one as well, of course, is nightclubs. Loads of nightclubs where the girls get free entry before 10 p.m. Now that's great. It gets the girls in early, so they're there longer and they're more likely to buy some more drinks, etc. And also the more girls get in, the more boys will tend to follow them. So that's, you know, it's good from a number of different ways. So a free mystery gift is also sometimes very good, particularly if you've got a good strong brand or you're in a luxury brand. People will assume that the free gift has the same standards, etc. And it doesn't have to be that expensive to you, but people will assume and will have that impression of your business. The freebies, where possible, should be related to your business though. You don't want to give something that's completely unrelated. But basically what you're trying to do here is to create a buying habit. So even if it's a big discount you give at the very start, you want to get people into buying from you, because once they've bought from you once, they're more likely to buy again. Okay. Let's move on to really modern way of connecting with your customers is the blog or the vlog. Now you really want to be seen as a trusted advisor by your customers. You want to be seen as an expert in that particular, whether it's fashion or it's children's education or it's accountancy or it's a lawyer. You want to be seen as that expert, because that's why people will buy from you. So one of the ways of doing that and to engaging with your prospects and customers is putting out these regular blogs or these regular video logs. Now, the point I'd like to make here is quality is more important than quantity here. You're better off doing one really good one a month and then promoting it like crazy. Talk about it everywhere, put it on your website, connect to it through Twitter, talk about it in mail shots that you use, promote it like crazy. Get influencers and other websites to connect to it. So that's much better than putting out loads of blogs that you don't promote. So once again, quality is more important than quantity here. The next thing I have to say is video is super important. Video sells. Storytelling in video sells. So if you don't have some video footage on some aspect of your product or your service, if you don't have that already, you've got to go out and get that as soon as possible. So with the video, as I said, it's the storytelling that's really important. The quality is more important than quantity. And once you create some good content, you want to promote it then across multiple channels. So you want to say, put it on your website, Twitter, LinkedIn, put it on YouTube, show it in your store or your premises, find the key influencers and get them to share with it. But the important thing again is about the quality. Make sure you put some effort into this and some thought. Okay. Let's go on and talk about rewarding your loyal customers. There's nothing that used to irritate me more when I was with, say, a telecommunications provider for a long time, and I'd see these great offers, but the great offers were only restricted to new customers only. And I thought, well, wait a minute, I've been a customer of yours for years. I'm a loyal customer. I've paid you loads of money. Where are the rewards and the offers for me? Now, companies have got much better at this, but don't neglect it in your own business. There are customers that keep coming back to you and coming back to you. You should be rewarding and acknowledging the loyalty that they're demonstrating to you. And sometimes it's a simple thank you that works wonders. Make sure you show that thank you. Sometimes it's providing special offers or access or discounts. I spend probably far too much money with a local fashion place, Katrina's Fashions, and I'm always getting access to special preview nights with wine and canopies and great advice on what suits me and what doesn't suit me. So that's one of the things that's really good. Loyalty cards. Even my local butcher's has a loyalty card now. So they track what I'm purchasing each week, and then it's coming up to Christmas now. I expect to use a few of my bonus points to contribute towards all the meat products that I'm going to end up buying around the Christmas feast period. And also, as an extra bonus, I've got the code to their back car park in the middle of town for easy parking access. There's a great reward for a local customer. Running your own events for both new customers and loyal customers is pretty important. So it might be that you run an event once or twice a year and you invite them to, maybe it's tasting products, maybe it's looking at new stock, maybe it's getting access to the discounts that you've got and sales products before everybody else gets access to them. So all of those are really important. Cross-selling and upselling also really important. I'll give you a great example. Just the other night, I bumped into the chimney sweep and I was looking at chimney sweep, so I took the card off him, and while I was taking the card off him and getting some details of his costs, he also gave me another card and he says, well, I'm also doing this other service if you're thinking of getting married soon. And I'm like, well, no plans to do that yet. But apparently it used to be a tradition that you could have a lucky sweep at your wedding, and this is a tradition goes back hundreds of years. And so he actually does this where he comes along and he's dressed as the old style chimney sweep and brings you luck on your wedding day. Apparently he's getting quite a few business with this. I thought that was very, very entrepreneurial cross-selling. So always keep an eye on your loyal customers, and 82% of small business owners say that loyal customers are the key to growth. So make sure you gather information on who your most important customers are on a continual basis and you reward them when possible. Now, final thing then I want to talk about in my 12 ways is branding. Branding is so important, and making sure you get your brand out there in all the local ways that you possibly can. So you want to have your brand name then, you want to have a brand name for either your company or your business, but also maybe services that you're providing or products you're selling. But you want it to be meaningful, you want it to be memorable, you want it to be unique and simple. There's a really good reason why I've never set up Fusciardi consulting services. Nobody can spell Fusciardi. So you want to have the right name there, and one that's searchable and easily found on the web without getting confused with loads of your competitors. Once you've got that, you want to think about then sort of, well, what do I want that brand to stand for? What should it mean from a trust point of view, from an expertise point of view, from a luxury point of view? What do you want your brand to stand for? and then have a logo that reflects that as well. Please get it professionally designed. You can spot one of those cut and paste logos a mile off, and it doesn't do anything to help you look professional. You really want to be looking professional with your logo. You can get it designed. There's usually loads of great agencies locally who'll do it for you, or there's a couple of ones where you can get it cheaply done through freelancer.com or upwork.com, both of which I've used, and for about £20 you can get a great logo designed. Now once you've got this done, you put it on everything you can think of that is relevant to your business, whether it's a shop front, staff uniforms, caps, bags, the delivery van that you use, business cards you hand out, notebooks, pens, thank you notes that you give to loyal customers, maybe little things you put in the bag when people are purchasing from you, packaging. So think of all of those things that you can do relevant to your business that you can get your logo out there. It's a well-known fact that people need to engage with your brand at least 7 times before they're likely to buy from you. So you need to give them 7 opportunities for engaging, whether it's seeing an advert that you put at the local sports club, or whether it's seeing an article in a newspaper about you, it's receiving a direct mail, it's finding you on Facebook, or it's seeing your van pass them on the street, etc. You've got to give them loads of opportunities to engage with your brand. Okay, for the last couple of minutes then, I'd like to give you my top tips then for local sales and the sales promotion. So the first one, the top tip there, is that you have to know your customers. You should always be thinking about who your ideal customer is, what sort of demographics, what sort of challenges, issues, problems. You really should be able to describe your customers very, very well. You need to mix your promotional methods. Nobody should be relying on just 1 or 2 of these methods. You need a combination, probably ideally between 4 and 6 of those methods that you work really, really well and you connect them together. Okay, you do it as part of a campaign. The next thing is you should always be asking your customers how they heard about you. So every time you engage with somebody new, you want to know how they heard about you, how did they find out about you, and you should be tracking that down somewhere in a spreadsheet or a document, the back of a book, whatever. You want to track this so that if I bumped into you a year from now and I said, how did you get your new customers over the last year? You could tell me, well, 25% of them came through Facebook, 30% came through customer referrals, another 25% came through advertising that I did in Google, and so on. You need to know how you're getting your customers. It's the only way you can track what types of sales methods are being effective. Use a lot of common sense here though. There are, you can spend too much money sometimes on the wrong things. So use a bit of common sense and follow your gut. You will know your customers well and you should know what works for them then. Consider the timing of your promotions, whether they're seasonal, a lot of Christmas, Black Friday for promotions, etc. of course this week. So you want to think about then what's the timing of certain promotions. And of course, as I said earlier, they should be part of campaigns. Regular repetition of a message is important. A scattergun approach is not effective. You need to plan across multiple routes to your customers, track, analyse, then replan and redo it again. So don't just do one method and one campaign and then sit back and wait and wonder why it wasn't as fantastically successful. It has to be part of a cohesive campaign. And of course, the most important thing is target. It is unlikely that one campaign is going to do everything for all your different types of customers. Target different campaigns for different types of customers. So, thank you. I hope you found that very useful. I'm always pleased to get feedback on any presentations that I do or any questions that you may have at this point. So please feel free to email me at gfusciardi@performeth.com. And if you get a chance, take a look at my website. There are lots of great resources to help small businesses. Thanks very much.